He said that's what it's like to live in the kingdom. But then he tells them another story. Join me in chapter 25. That while we wait, as we are here, there is to be this fruit and change in our lives. There is to be this hunger and thirst after him, to ask questions and to learn that there is this forgiveness between those who are in the kingdom and this patience with those who are not in the kingdom. But he says there's one more thing he wants us to see. And in chapter 25, starting in verse 14, he tells another story. He says, for it's just like a man. And he says he's talking about the kingdom because he referred to the kingdom in the first verse of chapter 25. He said, it's just like a man about to go on a journey who called his own slaves and entrusted his possessions to them. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1. Each according to his own ability, and he went on his journey. Immediately, the one who had received the 5 talents went and traded with them and gained 5 more talents. In the same manner, the one who had received the 2 talents gained 2 more. But he who received the 1 talent went away and dug a hole in the ground, and he hid his master's money. Now, after a long time, the master of those slaves came, and he settled accounts with them. Verse 20. The one who had received the 5 talents came up and brought 5 more talents, saying, Master, you entrusted 5 talents to me. See, I've gained 5 more talents. His master said to him, verse 21, well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many things. Enter into the joy of your master. Also, the one who had received the 2 talents came up and said, Master, you entrusted 2 talents to me. See, I've gained 2 more. His master said, well done, good and faithful slave. You were faithful with a few things. I'll put you in charge of many. Enter into the joy of your master. Verse 24. And the one also who had received the 1 talent came up and said, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you scattered no seed. And I was afraid. I went away and I hid your talent in the ground. See, you have what's yours. But his master answered and said to him, you wicked, lazy slave. You knew that I reap where I did not sow and gather where I scattered no seed. Then you ought to have put my money in the bank. And on my arrival, I would have received my money back with interest. Therefore, take away the talent from him and give it to the one who has the 10. For to everyone who has, more shall be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who does not have, even what he does have shall be taken away. Throw out the worthless slave into the outer darkness. In the place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Jesus tells a story of this owner who has left on a journey. It begins to draw the picture for us, I think, of the time that we are waiting after Jesus has come and he has established the kingdom and he is waiting in heaven for his second coming. And while he is gone, we are to be faithful. And one received 5 talents, 1 2, and one received 1. And it says that we received what God finds acceptable. That God, in this story, Jesus said the servant gave to him what was appropriate. And to us, we have to know that God gives us certain responsibilities. That there has to be patience with the evil that is around us, but that doesn't mean then that we don't have a responsibility. That if the kingdom is going to grow, if it's going to advance, if we're going to build for God, then we have to accept certain responsibility. And it's what God chooses for us. We don't choose it ourselves. We don't earn it. It is what he finds acceptable. And then what do? Well, you have to know this. We are caretakers and not owners. We are to use what he has given us as if it still belongs to him, but we have the responsibility for it. I want to give you an example of how that has worked in our church. In January of 2009, Lynn Swanner was teaching a Sunday school class upstairs that he'd been teaching. Lynn, how long have you been teaching that class? Since Jesus was in there as a little boy? It's been a long time. Well, Lynn's class began to have a burden for people. So if you were in Lynn's class in January of 2009, I want you to come stand right here at the altar. If you were part of Lynn's class in January of 2009, I want you to come up because I want you to see kind of what has happened over the last 15 months or so. In the fall, or really the summer of 2008, there was a couple in Lynn's class, and y'all just all gather right here in the middle. Y'all can kind of make 2 or 3 deep. It doesn't matter, but y'all are just going to act like you like one another, so get tidy in there. They had a couple in their class, Don and Dolores Wallace, who we commissioned to the mission field. Don and Dolores went to Hot Springs, Arkansas. Okay? Now, y'all are obviously not paying attention to what I've said because y'all are all spread out. I want all Lynn's group inside the big huddle here, basically covering this front pew, but no wider. And it'll make sense here in a minute. So, like I said, you have to act like you like one another, and somebody can stand on the steps if you want. Okay. So we sent Don and Dolores to Hot Springs, Arkansas. Many of you know Don and Dolores. You were here praying over them. It was great. But there continued to be this burden in the class. It's not just sending people on the mission field. They said, Winsboro is our mission field. And so in February of last year, February of 2009, there were 5 folks who left and started a new class. Yella and VP Youngsma, Jim and Patty Barrett, and then Ellen Ummel came from the Bicota class. So Ellen, if you're in here, I want you to join Yella and VP and Jim and Patty over by the piano. So Jim and Patty, Yella and VP, and Ellen went on mission. We commissioned them to start a class right here in Winsboro. And they had just this crazy idea of meeting at a coffee shop. We'd never done that before. And you can see this is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 22, 24, 6, 28, 30. About 30 was probably about what Lynn was averaging, 25 to 30 every Sunday. And so he sent 5, and there's always this fear, we're going to break up our fellowship, and it's just not going to be any good, or we're going to miss them. And they did, but let's look at what happened. Starting at the coffee shop, they were first called Arts and Espresso, but now Good News and Espresso. If you're a part of the Good News and Espresso Sunday School class, I want you to join Jim and Patty, Ellen and Yella and VP around the piano. Brother David, this will never work. We're going off campus, and we're starting a class for people who aren't in our church, and that they're going to drink coffee, and I don't know if this will work. Maybe it will. Jack, have you joined the coffee class too? Or are you just walking up here? That's all right. Makes it look better because we got one more up here. That's good. Wow. Well, and there could be some that say, okay, part of our talent, part of what God has given us is people, and we need to use them well. And so Lynn's class said, we've got people who are gifted in reaching, so you guys go. Well, they could have said, man, we've doubled 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 8. There's about 800 people up here right now, it seems like. But the Arts and Espresso class is now Good News and Espresso, and they're averaging about 30 a week. They've had to move out of one coffee shop and into a larger space. And there could have been some that say, well, we're kind of satisfied. But Lynn's class wasn't satisfied. The people who were there saying, we still need to reach more. And so we started a Cowboy Way Bible class. Edwana and Tommy Lee were part of that class. Carlos and Mary Jean Moore were associates of that class. And so they started the Cowboy Way class. So if you're part of the Cowboy Way class, I want you to come over here to my left, to the right of the sanctuary. Y'all come on up.